Welcome to the Ultimate MetaSounds Reference Guide, Arrays, Part 2. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the get, random get, and shuffle nodes. These three nodes come in all types and are designed to accept an array input. Starting with get, this node is simply designed to pull a predefined element from an array. By default, it will pull the element in index 0. However, we have the ability to designate which index is being retrieved by changing this index number. We can do this manually by typing a number into this box, or by making it a graph input to receive its numeric value from another location. The random get node builds on this logic. As you can see, we don't have an index input. Instead, this node will first look at the array, determine how many elements are in the array, generate a random number between 0 and that number, and then pull the element that resides at that randomly selected index. Essentially, the function is built in this manner, but all wrapped up inside the random get node. While the element that is pulled is random, there are a couple inputs that allow us to manipulate this selection to a degree. The weight input allows us to define the probability of getting certain elements over others. As an example, this can be used in a dialogue system where certain lines are more common than others. If you're familiar with the "I would have been your daddy" skull in Halo, this functions in a similar manner by increasing the probability or weight of the more obscure dialogue lines. We can also manipulate the random sequence by using seeds. Seeds are variables used by the random number generator algorithm to produce a sequence of seemingly random numbers. By default, this value is set to -1, which will produce a true random sequence. Using -1 and triggering the random get 10 times will give us a string of numbers. If we stop the MetaSound source and repeat this process, you'll see that we get an entirely new output. However, using any other number in this box will always produce the same string of numbers. If we change the seed to 3, for example, you can see that we get 2, 4, 2, 3, 1, 2, 5, 4, 2, 1. This time, if we stop the MetaSound source and repeat this process, you'll see that we get the exact same output. We can also use a trigger to reset the seed, which will return the sequence back to the top of the list. The no repeats input does exactly what you would expect. This determines whether or not repeating indexes is allowed before all elements in the array have been used. While it may seem like this should be a Boolean type input to check either true or false, being an integer input allows us to define specifically how many random pulls are acceptable before repeats are allowed. Setting this to 0 means it's possible to pull the same element multiple times in a row, whereas setting this to the number of elements in your array means that all elements will be pulled once before you see any repeats. Any number in between will allow repeats after that defined number of triggers has occurred. The last input we have is the enable shared state. This is useful if you're creating a custom MetaSound that will be placed inside multiple MetaSound sources. Enabling this option will allow you to share the current state of your random get node to other MetaSound sources where the same custom MetaSound is being used. Lastly, let's take a look at the shuffle node. You'll find a few familiar inputs on the shuffle node that we also saw on the random get node, however they do function differently. Much like shuffling a deck of cards and then dealing them out, this node will shuffle the elements in your array into a random order and then begin triggering them in that new order. So if your array contains the elements 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, the shuffle node may reorder them into 3, 1, 4, 5, 2. It will then proceed to trigger them from start to finish in this new order until a reshuffle occurs. We also have the ability to trigger a reshuffle at any point in the deal, or to automatically reshuffle once each element in the array has been triggered. To see the full list of videos in this reference guide, click the link to the playlist in the description below.